All right. Put a little picture here of the book. Voila. And sorry for the delay on putting up the post of the last week's video, but it's on the Facebook page. So if anybody wants it,
Okay, do you want your little shining face right here so you can say something?
Sure. Is that helpful in the
They
video?
won't know me as
Let's go
a
down.
leader in the first video.
Yeah, you need to scrunch just a little bit. There you go.
That's
Thank you,
cute.
Donna. All right, so I'm headless now.
No.
Really. You're good. You were good. I mean, you weren't totally in the picture, but you are now.
Okay.
Yeah, he used to
You
not
got-
be the picture. Now he is.
Yeah.
Cool. John, would you mind snooping on my book, man? I see how it is.
Yeah.
Would you mind opening us with some prayer?
Yes. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us together one more time, bringing us safe through another week, and please let this course inspire us to be better leaders and better people in general. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Sweet. So, if y'all can angle it to where I can stand upright and it's not a problem.
You're fine now.
It's good?
Yep.
Okay, I got shorter. That's awesome. Okay, so, funny thing, in the book, The Law of Addition, that's not the name of the book, that's the name of the chapter. The chapter talks about finding different ways to add value to people that you lead. So, I happened to be in an event this week.
Do this just a little bit tilted back.
There you go. There you go. Did that work?
Your top of your
It's
head
that
is
one.
cut
You
off.
turn it counterclockwise, that'll loosen it, and then you can retighten it. Marissa, can you help them?
This one here. Well, actually, you're good right there. I
Okay,
mean,
cool.
you're fine.
Sweet.
Okay.
So,
I thought you were reaching for
I have this book. This book, see that picture? That gentleman? Kyle Wilson?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he founded Jim Rohn International. Okay, he's a good friend of mine. I was in his mastermind. He co-authored this book with these other 7 and however many people that is total. They each have one chapter of their story about not quitting. So stories of persistence, courage, and faith. So this is because you are leading the law of addition. This is a gift for you.
Oh,
It is for you.
because I can be a quitter at times.
No, don't quit.
When stuff
You
gets
need the stories,
what-
apparently.
Can you all be a quitter sometimes?
Oh yeah.
I'd be like, oh gosh, this is just too hard. I'm not happy.
And speaking of quitting, there's a new video that Marissa posted from YouTube about all successful people have the habit of quitting things that are wrong in their life quickly. So
Okay.
quitting is good. That's
As long as
saying
you-
don't quit your
yeah,
purpose.
okay.
Right?
The right things.
Yeah.
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 It was a good
So-
video. I was like, wow. I don't see a lot of videos that tell you quit like some stuff that you not just like bad habits, like actually quit good
Could be
things.
something good.
Yeah.
That
So
God hasn't called you to do.
Yeah.
exactly. So then I have these little excerpts of different quotes from Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, and Jim Rohn. So who wants which one? Zig Ziglar, raise your hand. Cool, because I have 4 of those.
Good.
So
Like them.
voila, voila.
I'll take
Here you go.
whatever.
I'll
You-
take whatever.
He was
Thank
sitting
you.
in a little tiny beach chair, like where the water could
Well,
hit
actually,
him.
y'all two, since y'all are married, should probably get a different one. Why don't you give Brian Tracy's to him, and then you get Zig Ziglar down. Well, you can trade them all,
Yeah.
like Pokemon cards, you know? Trade them all. Baseball cards or whatever.
It was funny because he's sitting in a little chair and he's reading his little book and like the water's coming up and all of a sudden a big wave come and he's like, ah! And I have this picture of him like with a book in the
That
air
Brian
and the
Tracy
wave
was the
coming.
one that I read. It was one sitting. I just read them all, and there's some really brilliant
Really
quotes in
good
there.
quotes in
Very
Where are you guys at?
thought stimulating. We were in Virginia Beach.
Oh,
We were in Philadelphia for the mastermind, and then Virginia Beach for vacation.
nice.
But he didn't sign them for us.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I'm kidding. Okay.
but thank you for making me feel bad. I appreciate it. But I wanted to give them to y'all just as like little quote books, so kind of like tweets, but it's in a book form. So if you are, I would recommend just reading 1 per day, like not a quote, but 1 page per day in the morning, just to see how it affects your day. So something
Okay.
quick, something small. You don't have to set time aside. You can leave it near your toothbrush. So
Leave it in your toothbrush.
leave it near your toothbrush, not in your toothbrush. I thought that y'all would like that. Is that
Yes, thank you.
an
It's good.
alignment,
Yes,
right?
thank you.
Y'all all learners. Y'all
Thank you very much for thinking of us.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Good. So, with that being said, reviewing last week with the law of navigation, I would like to actually applaud Debbie. You did an amazing job.
Yes.
we needed a good navigator to get us started on this. So
Definitely. So, I mean, and then the next week everybody shows up early. It's awesome. So like, cause you're influencing.
yeah, I was like, wow, everybody's here already.
Yeah. So we're gonna go into law of addition, but was there anything that was unresolved questions about the law of navigation? Thoughts, comments? I thought we did a really good job, really beating the dead horse, or beating the horse to its death, or however you want to say that. Doing that last week, and I love the puzzle, the little, not a puzzle, the little zigzag
Yeah,
maze
it's great.
thing that we filled
Did
out.
you do that on your vacation? It's like,
No, I should have. I was busy driving for like 20 some odd hours total, but that's okay. But still fun. So if nobody has any thoughts about last week, I just want to let Cindy take over and do your thing with the thing. You can
Yay.
sit, you can stand. Debbie likes sitting style. I like standing style. There's a
I
whiteboard.
might do that.
Okay.
Let me see, my color do you?
Does it fit in the video? Yeah, we're about 5'6".
I don't
So
wanna be my head cut off.
no, I don't want your head cut off either. All right.
Hey. Head cut off?
I can always
No,
back
no,
it up.
no,
Okay,
you're
no, that's
fine.
okay.
There's a little bit of room left.
Okay.
Wonderful.
It doesn't have to
Oh.
be that much room. I just don't want a picture of me from here to
No,
here.
no. You can see it.
Sounds like a
You
horrible
can
thing.
You can see it.
Okay, I really liked this. And even though Gary has informed me that he's gonna argue with me a little bit and give him his own personal swing on it a little bit later, which is totally fine. I just wanted to explain why I thought it was a really it's important to me, because we do have employees, and I want them to know and feel valued and appreciated, and it's so easy to let that fly right out the window. Not baby them, encourage them and whatever, but and the other thing is having a background of sexual abuse as a child, also understanding the importance of not subtracting from people, which I would like to talk a little bit about that too, not maybe in that context, but in other ways, and how we do it easily and not even thinking about it. So I am going to start with those thoughts. So Jim Senegal, I love this picture of him. I love the fact that his years at Costco, and I don't know if he's still there or not. Is he still a Costco person? Does anyone know?
I can ask.
Okay. Well, anyways, I love the fact that he didn't make his salary so far above his employees. I thought that was fabulous. I liked that he kept an open door for them and actually wanted to speak to them on a personal level, because I feel like that's also easy to do when you're working at a bigger company. You know, you never even know the person who owns it or the person who's running it, or you never meet them. So you feel sometimes, I think it's easy to feel insignificant as an employee. So I feel like that's, you know, I really appreciate those things that he did.
He's the former CEO.
He's a former
He's
CEO.
83.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh
He's the
yeah,
former
he's
That's pretty
retired.
old.
Okay. So I knew this book was a little out there, so I just wanted to kind of ask that. But his people had a lot of confidence in him, and they wanted to hear what he had to say. They obviously respected him a lot, and that's so really important. And not only as your employees to you, but everyone. Everyone that you come in contact with. I loved the fact about the chicken, you know, and that a huge company compared to his company wanted to take him on, let him speak, John Maxwell, at their event, and it kind of gave him really a boost in his own, you know, things. It would have took him forever to get to that point and, you know, be known. And I thought that was really good too, that we can have the power if, you know, we know that someone is really doing a good job and they really just need a little bump to be able to bump them.
Yeah.
That's really a great thing too.
What did you say about a chicken?
Oh, that's
ChickfilA.
ChickfilA.
Oh, the Chick-fil-A.
God's Chicken Place.
Was that in here?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was.
Wow.
The end of the chapter.
56.
Oh, it's near the end.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. I
Pay
really,
me no
I just
attention.
love that story too. You know, that we can bump people
Yeah.
up, and we don't have to even be paid for it. We can just include them in what we're doing, and it bumps them up if we're at a different spot. So, let's see here. Did anyone have any thoughts about it before I start my spiel about this chapter?
You know, I like the chapter. I thought, you know, a lot of times when you look at a leader, and I'm just in my past, you know, even at the post office, and one of my little sayings, I don't know if this is good or bad, but I'm not impressed with people very often. I'm just not, and I'll tell them that too. Not that I dislike them, not that I think they're not smart, but it's like it takes a special person to really get my attention to where, wow, where are they coming from? Or what can I learn from them? Or whatever. But to me, if you got a leader that's going to come in and talk to the people, make them feel like, you know, they have something to say and they're worthwhile, I mean, that gets my attention right away.
Right.
As opposed to, and I guess working at the post office, I used to come home and Debbie and I would talk. I was like, oh, how come I wasn't in charge? I mean, seriously. It's like they got, and again, I'm not trying to be a bad person, but I think, gosh, is that all it takes? Maybe, but then again, there's always that stuff you gotta do to be in charge, so. But anyway, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I don't know. I just think you make them feel good and feel comfortable. And I don't know why, I'll be quiet, but I always think back to coaching the kids at the baseball team. And even the kids that, you know, the younger kids that might have been a sophomore instead of the seniors. Well, I would tell them, you can do this. I mean, you can do this. If you follow the procedure, being a good baseball player, you're not clowning around, you know, and I would teach them things, and then you'd have the coaches that would just yell at kids. And I thought, you know, those kids are just shutting you off. They're really not even listening to you. I mean, you're like scaring them into doing something, and you don't need to. And I can remember telling those kids, you know, once you get out there and you get on that base, we can only tell you so much. You gotta know what you're doing, think, look at the play coming at you. If you think you can take the base, do it. But if you don't think you can, don't do it. I would always give them the opportunity to think for themselves. And that's what I think a lot of this time, if you get a leader that's not harsh and yelling at you, it just kind of makes you think for yourself. And then you're gonna get there, the whole place is gonna roll better if you ask me, but anyway.
Well, that's a really good lead up to, I thought we might just list a few things, and I'm gonna start with the negatives, because then we'll make it better with positives. Okay? What are some things that we can negatively do that subtract a value from a person? And I thought, you know, the more I thought about it and thought about how, you know, because I didn't really like his wording on adding and subtracting, but then I thought, you know, we all have a value, and that can be related to a number of things. So when you subtract from someone, you are subtracting their value from them. And that's pretty bad that we can actually do that to somebody with our words, with our not speaking, whatever. But I thought we would start with that. You know, what are some things that we do, even like not knowing it, to subtract value?
Oh shoot, it just left my mind. Not letting the other person, we're not acknowledging the other person's contribution.
So not crediting.
Yeah.
Okay. How about anything else?
Probably like when, and there's a time, some people like talk a lot, so there's a time to leave, but like sometimes shutting them down and not like being an active listener.
Not listening. Is that easy to do?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Is that an easy
I would smack him if I were closer. I don't let him say that with me anymore. Easy to
There's a second part to that, not listening, but not showing you heard what they said.
Yeah.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right, so not acknowledging what you heard.
Andrew goes, Good job acknowledging what he said. You deserve that. What were you saying, Cindy? You said, is that
what-
easy to do?
Yeah, I said, is that it? I feel like that is listening is such a hard skill to keep all the time with you, you know? I work on it, I don't know about you guys. Do you?
Yeah, and I think the thing that's helped me the best, not that I rock it or anything, is like living with like a sense of wonder, like being really curious about what are they gonna say?
Yes.
How are they seeing the world?
Yes.
And that helps you be more curious, and instead of assuming, oh, they're gonna say this and that.
Right.
People that teach that suggest that when you are in a meeting or you're talking one-on-one, that you incorporate what you heard back into
The conversation.
the conversation to demonstrate to the person that you did hear.
Right.
So you just talk it back.
Swing around.
Right. Definitely.
Okay, what
I
else?
think that for me in the phase of listening that I'm in, as far as studying listening, it's holding back my thoughts to what I want to say about it, and realizing that people are mostly communicating emotions instead of words. So to me, I've learned a lot over the last year to really listen with their emotional, like what are they saying behind the words that they're saying, and
Okay.
to try to get to that deeper level. That's been something that's helped me with leadership, but mostly just with conversing with people.
And relationships altogether.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Um,
Right. How about some other things that we can do?
Not trying to build the relationship. If you don't put some of yourself into it and you stay constantly behind this barrier, they're not going to understand your thoughts. You're not really going to understand their thoughts. And the relationship is going to be rocky, up and down, or whatever. There's not good communication. I don't know how else to
So
say it.
not putting forth effort for the relationship, maybe?
Yeah.
We had a boss one time at the post office who would come in the morning and close his door to his office, and that was it. Never
Dang.
came out on the floor, never talked to the employees. So that's somebody that you're talking about. I don't even know if he knew our names, you know. So, and that is not a real good morale booster.
No, not at all. Ignoring people. Maybe.
Not helping their followers become better people.
Not helping them grow.
Right, that's what, yeah.
Just pointing out negatives.
Oh yeah, always
All the
focusing
time.
on what you did wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, see, I guess that goes back to the old
Nitpicking.
baseball thing. You can always criticize somebody for doing something wrong, but to me, I thought you got more out of the kid if you work on the stuff that he did good as
Yeah.
opposed to yelling at him all the time.
Right.
I think that's standard in business a lot. I think you hear, because of an employee, well, in telemarketing, which is what I do. I don't call y'all at dinner, but you guys call us. It's always great phone calls. They say you do good. But when you get that one customer that says, I want to talk to your supervisor, even though you followed the rules, they're always going to remember the one thing you did wrong compared to the first 5 things you did that were right.
Yeah.
And I sometimes think that's a standard in business. You know, Senegal seems like he is not the norm. I don't know if there are other men like him, but you know, I'm thinking of most of the big businesses, Target, Walmart. You know, Sam Walmart, who founded Walmart, his basic goal was to help truckers. When they deliver their products, you know, let the truckers in, let them have, you know, do what they need to do. He was more sympathetic to the truck drivers. Well, now that his family is taking control, it's the complete opposite. 9 times out of 10, Walmarts will not let the truckers park in their big lots. It's like most big companies nowadays don't have what Senegal had. And like I said, I just don't know if there are many others like him. But it seems like he's just particularly set apart.
Well, I really appreciated that. How about anything else?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Negative things? No, you go first.
I'm not sure how to word this succinctly, but basically not thinking that somebody else has something valuable to offer, like, you know, whether it's an opinion or something.
Or your thoughts don't count?
Yeah.
So is it telling them that their thoughts don't count, or just never giving them a chance to say something?
Yeah, probably just.
Probably both.
Yeah, if you just
maybe.
kind of boss them around without like ever getting any feedback or input, it really shows insecurity on your part for
Yes.
one. But like you're also putting them down.
Right, or if they offer some kind of a, you know, an idea, and then you don't ever do one thing with that, not even really acknowledge it or talk it through with them, you know, because it might be a really crummy idea
Yeah.
that could
But at
really
least
cause
they'll
a lot
feel
of
heard.
issues.
They'll feel heard, right?
Yes, but you could take maybe one aspect of that idea and, you know,
I really
and
like your
run with
creativity.
that. Yeah, something.
Uncle
You know,
Don's.
please, this is why we can't do that, but, you know, please keep thinking and creating, because that's a good thing, you know.
I guess it does depend. I mean, you say it's a good thing, and it typically is, but sometimes you don't want people in certain positions utilizing their creativity. So I think sometimes people intentionally stifle that from a leadership, business, cold perspective of saying, hey, like if your job is to be mowing the lawn, then mow the lawn, and that's, you know,
To the best of
you're not
your
looking for
ability.
new ways to mow the lawn right now. That's a different time. So explaining that appropriately, I think it could be.
Could be looking for a new way to mow the lawn, Andrew. Now you're talking to a 25-acre lawn mowing person, so
No, it's
we
funny.
could look for new ways to mow that lawn.
I was thinking,
Goats.
being a road carrier like I was, your basic thing was you got your mail, you delivered it. Well, there'd be different. You can ask Debbie how you pull the mail down, pack it up, blah, blah, blah. Well, the city carriers, they had to do everything all the same. Now, the rural carriers, you could do whatever you wanted as far as putting it in a box, stacking it this way, as long as you got the mail delivered in a timely fashion. And you know what? It was awesome, because there would be 3 different ways that 6 carriers would deliver their mail a little different. But then when you got together, you might take an aspect of this one, take this one, and before you know it, you guys were working together, but it was still a little different, because people, they're just different, you
Well,
know?
and I'm going to just say this from a left-handed perspective.
Oh my.
Yeah, there you
The
go.
right-handed
Mhm.
world does not usually work for me. I
Yeah.
want to stand at a certain place at the table. I want my materials to be a certain way,
Yeah.
especially when I'm, you know, using my hands, or I have to make stacks or any of that kind of thing. So, you know, there is a difference in how people work and how they think through things, and, you know, so.
That's funny you say that, because if you're a mail carrier, your right hand is out here, but if you're left-handed, that's a whole different story. And it was funny, because you could see the left-handed people, they would utilize their hand better than their right. You know what I'm saying? You were quicker with your left, or me, I wasn't as quick with the left as I was the right, but
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So I think forgetting names is a way to subtract value from people.
Forgetting names, I'm so bad at that. You know, I've had 4 head injuries, and I mean, just names.
Yeah.
Names are very difficult for me. They really are. I mean, even people that I know well, I can like come to, and I've gotten to a place where it almost creates a fear in me, and so I think the fear also couples on top of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll gag or throw up or anything sometimes because I can't remember people's
We need to
names.
skip
Excuse me, I gotta go throw up.
Where did you come up with that? Now, you know, because I am
can't remember.
terrible.
I'll
I'm
tell you.
terrible at that. Somebody can tell me their name and literally 10 seconds later, because I wasn't even listening.
I mean,
Okay,
Okay,
we'll take
wait,
a
wait,
commercial break,
wait.
and I will give you a trick for remembering people's
Oh,
names.
okay.
Commercial break.
Okay.
Okay? Take their name, break it apart, and put some sort of a picture, okay?
Yeah.
And make it graphic. And then find a feature on their face and stamp it on their face.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way. So, like, Andrew
Yes.
is like ants that drew.
Okay.
So I have a beard. And
Okay.
you can imagine little ants are drawing the beard all over my face.
So
Ants drew.
how do you remember our names?
Yeah,
I've known y'all for a while now, so
It was
I
really
got
funny. We were at a party, and I was like,
I went through
Andrew
the church
through the name
directory.
thing. I was like, Andrew, how are you remembering their name right now? And he's like, well, and it was, it was kind of weird.
Hey, you don't have to share all your secrets. I went through the church directory. There's a picture, and there's your name. So as I was getting familiar with a flood of 400 new people in my life, I was going through the church directory, and thankfully the pictures were updated enough that it was good.
So I'd like to make a slight alteration to what you were just saying in regards to this. As opposed to that being a negative side, I'd put that on the positive side.
Forgetting people's names?
Remembering people's names would be like
The positive
the
side.
positive side, because
Okay,
most people do forget people's names.
sure.
I
So it could be
think
neutral.
that it's kind of a neutral.
When I put your name in my phone book, I put Cindy, and then I put Walt. So
That wasn't as scary as I thought it was gonna be.
I put Deb, I put Larry. That way I know who
Woman's
goes
first
to that?
name.
who goes to each other, but I have it in my phone book.
Yeah.
So if you ever get a message from me, a text, it's to Andrew and you and Cindy and Walt, Deb and Larry. But that's the way I cheat.
That's a good
That's
cheating
good.
tool. Now, to ask how I came up with that, I was just thinking through how to win friends and influence people, and one it says is the most important sound in any language. It to that person is their name. So I would think a way that subtracts value is not remembering somebody's name, so if they don't feel that you value them as much. Now, I think that an overarching premise is getting to the place, and we're never fully evolved there, but to where other people don't determine your own value. And that's kind of like the ultimate thing, because like if I forget somebody's name, I'm not trying to do something bad,
Yes.
right? It's
Right.
just I forgot because I have a Rolodex of other people to remember, and I didn't get to you. But then once again, now we're looking at, oh, well, I'm not as important as these other people. But then like I wouldn't expect to be as important in your life as Walt, right? Like we just all have priorities of relationships, right?
I had
Yes.
that discussion on Facebook with you that one day.
Remind me.
How?
I remember whether you need to reply to everybody or not, right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I just don't have time in my life to respond. I have like 16 unread messages. I just have too many people.
In telemarketing, they'll tell you the best way to remember a person's name is number one, you write it down when you're talking to them.
Mhm.
Or repeat it back during your conversation. So if Marissa called me and she says, "Hi, this is Marissa Hall. I want to check on such and such," I would write her name down, and then after that I'd say, "Okay, and Melissa, what is it that you're checking on again?" And I'd have to inject her name at least 3 to 5 times in the
That
conversation.
really helps.
Because what is it, 3 to 4 times repetitive, you'll remember it.
Yeah.
I think is what the standard rule is.
Yeah, the more the merrier. And then reviewing it the next day is the key to, if you went for long-term memory, it's reviewing it throughout the weeks to come. But commercial over about remembering
Okay.
names.
Okay.
Back on topic.
All right. Okay, so those are just a few of the things that are negatives. How about some positives?
Remembering people's names.
Telling them when they do a good job.
Right.
Praise.
There you go, praise.
Praising.
Trying.
Praising character and actions, because those are two different things. Quite often people are like, oh, you did such a good job. Well, that's different than you are a good person. So notating the difference whenever you're criticizing, or I'm sorry, whenever you're praising somebody, to do both if that's appropriate at that time. Maybe they're not a good person and you're just praising what they did, but you can at least praise the action and not the character. So
Okay.
Give them experiences that will help them perform better or do a better job.
Some training.
Yeah, training.
When I worked at Summit, I loved it when we had some kind of training, something that was just something different, and it made you either better at your job, or I liked the training. So okay, what else?
Sharing like, I don't know if it's like relevant resources, but like, you know how we were talking about personal development books and stuff like that. So
Sure.
like, giving people ideas on like things to read and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Those are valuable friends to have. Oh, yeah. I really. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's probably my personality type, but I really like it when people like remember something that like we maybe did together that was really fun, like almost like an inside story or inside joke or something that maybe somebody said that was like, you know what, that really affected me, and like bringing up something, like bringing up the history.
Okay.
Like on the office when they say that's what she said.
What?
Like on the office when they say that's what she said. Like the whole office says that's
Yeah.
The gag joke.
what she said.
Yeah, like the ongoing thing.
Mhm.
I don't know. But yeah, also like, you remember when we did such and such? Like, I don't know. Remember
But
when
you've
Larry
gotta
got
be
his
careful
guitar
with
and
that,
played that same
too.
song?
I think more in an office situation, because if you had a coworker that's been there for 10 years that you build up a really good relationship, they leave, and the new person comes in, can't relate to all that inside stuff.
Okay, so explaining inside stuff to other people, that's a whole separate thing.
That's
I
a
was
whole
thinking
separate thing,
one-on-one. Like,
Okay.
hey Debbie.
She doesn't have a
Yeah.
corporation, so she's not familiar with office work.
No, so I don't
Well,
do it. But yeah, I do agree with you
She
in
would hate it.
settings. Huh?
Way too creative.
I
for,
just said you would hate it.
I would hate it. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
But in situations where like I have a clique group and new people come
Well,
in, you have to be careful.
with Zooeys, if you hung out being married to a zookeeper at one point,
Zookeeper.
we call, anybody who could fit into that group, whether they were a zookeeper or not, they were called Zooeys.
Mhm.
And when a group of Zooeys got together, forget it. You could not even get a word in edgewise because, well, did you see what Eddie the chimp did the other day? And they'll get those inside things. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in a corporate world, but to throw those all together. I don't know where I'm going. I lost it.
Well, I missed the original point. So you're adding value to people by bringing up inside stories? Is that what you said?
I thought it was to make the people feel more valuable.
Because
Yeah.
you're remembering previous inside stories.
Yeah, like
Okay.
like if I was hanging out with
That
Cindy
were
and I was
good.
like, hey, like I really appreciate doing all the
Yes.
flowers for my wedding. It just meant so much to me. Like
Yes.
it adds
Yeah,
value because she knows that she has like value in my life with that.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
I would say.
A subheading for this should be good leader, bad leader.
Okay.
Let's set that in.
Bad. Good, bad.
Okay,
It looks like the word cuddling. Can you tell me what you spelled? Yeah.
I really adds value.
Back from vacation,
Crediting?
maybe that's it.
Crediting.
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 We had not crediting.
So do we have debt and credit cards on there?
No.
You spent too long with money
We
today.
know
Yeah.
that he came up with this fabulous idea in the office or on the floor in the shop.
So he gets credit.
Yes, because that way I don't stand in front of, the big wig leader and say, oh, by the way, I came up with this when it was really this man.
The reason I said good leader, bad leader, good leader, is sometimes leaders don't want to acknowledge this because they don't want to promote you. They don't want you to grow.
Oh yeah.
So it's a fear factor on their
So-
part.
Yeah.
Like
Limited
if you're doing a
Wayne
really
Myers
good
test
job,
these questions.
and I don't want to lose you in this position, or on this project, or in this committee, then if I don't tell you, you don't know,
Right.
and I can keep you right there. But if I start to praise you, talk to you, educate you, and do other things, then I'm bound to move you to the other side and move you up the ladder, which will require I have to then hire somebody else to fill your position, or add somebody else to the committee.
Absolutely.
But if you're a really good leader,
You should.
you're going to have people behind her that you can
Right.
just
Now
swap them right
we're
in that
flirting
spot
with
with
the
a little.
law of empowerment,
Okay.
which we'll get to.
Okay.
But we're starting to flirt with that law a lot.
Okay,
Let's
so
stick
you
on
keep us
addition.
in line there,
Okay.
Andrew.
It's
Okay.
The law of adding more laws.
Empowering is like what you're talking about, where we're giving
It is
away
a little bit.
empowerment.
It's a little bit. It crosses over. I think.
Addition's
little
a very
bit.
broad one,
Yes.
but it's necessary for everything. I
How
would say
would somebody like to succinctly say the law of addition? Like how would you?
How I put it was do unto others.
The fourth
What did you
point
say?
in
Do
his
unto
thing.
others.
Oh, okay.
I've been trying to take some of these thoughts and kind of like find the places
verses
in the
with it.
Bible and places and
Have
stories and
any
things.
of you spent much time in a Chick-fil-A restaurant?
Yeah.
No,
I
no.
mean,
No.
not just eating.
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Do I have time for a short story?
Short story. Sure. Go ahead,
Sure.
because we got a lot of activities
Okay,
here.
I met the I met the Cathys. Okay,
Oh, True and Dan.
okay.
That's great.
And I've
Oh, yeah.
spent a lot of times in a restaurant, and this is a true story, what they
Who
do.
did you meet?
Truett and Dan Cathy, the founder and CEO of.
In fact,
Oh.
one of the Cathys
Oh.
was on the board of directors for Aflac Insurance.
Oh, okay.
And I spent a cruise with them one time.
Nice.
But they truly empower their staff. If you ever sit in their restaurant and eat and listen and watch, they're far superior than any other restaurant
Mhm.
in the marketplace.
They have one
My
restaurant
pleasure.
in North Carolina, or South Carolina rather. My sister quit there because the person that is in charge, which I'm sure the higher ups don't know this, she had people in tears more than once a day.
Mm.
Well, I've been in about 20 of them. and
She's
I-
now at
and,
another one, and she said, "I just can't believe the difference." Because I said because they are known for training their people to value their employees and their
I can
customers.
add to that as well. So you know this, the way that actually you become an owner of a Chick-fil-A franchise, you can't buy it. You have to be the operator for 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to put up half of the money, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And then Chick-fil-A matches the other half to buy the
They
building,
go to school
property.
for a year.
You have to go to school for a year, and then you have to like work your way from fry cook
Yeah.
all the way up
Yeah.
inside the company, and then you can own it.
That's good. That's a good plan.
And you can't
Yes.
own more than one or two
Handful, yeah.
franchises too.
Keep the quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Donna.
I was reading this, and with his 4 laws of addition, and it says we add value to others when we do things that God values. And again, not having the experience to know, it seems like most businesses again do the separation of church and state type thing. Are there any other businesses that are akin to like Chick-fil-A who
Oh,
really,
absolutely, they're everywhere.
how do you find them?
What about that one Hobby Lobby? Is
I
our
have 20 different jobs like I did. What did you say, Hobby Lobby?
Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, I think
Lobby's
Hobby Lobby.
Billionaire. Yeah,
Christian group, yeah.
yeah. The founders of Amway have scriptures throughout their
There's
okay.
stuff. Like
There's
they're just
a battery company, Interstate Battery, that have run Christian ads on.
I
Okay.
might be wrong, but isn't Love's kind of a Christian gas station?
I've just always
they
wanted
do
to play
Christian
Christian
music sometimes,
They do.
and I will add Chick-fil-A plays Christian lyrics.
My parents would recommend it, like, hey, if you have an option, stop at Love's.
So it takes just being kind of aware. I mean, you weren't aware of that now, but now that you are, you might recognize, different things or people giving credit. But some people aren't as public. Like a lot of people know John Maxwell as the leadership guru. They don't know him as a Christian. I love that he added that fourth little
Yes,
point in there
yeah,
because
I was
this
surprised.
book, how many copies has been sold? How many places has Jesus now been given testament through his leadership, his business, right? So
I did see a little video clip
Oh, there
also
it is, Kathy.
of him saying that how he talks about this to people, and he says, I tell them, I'll give you the 3. There is actually 4, but I'll just give you the 3. And he just keeps saying about the 3. Well, people keep asking him, well, what's the 4th? Well, it's just kind of a personal thing, and they really want to know, and then he tells them what it is, So that's
That's like
a really
something you
good.
would do. Kind of bait him into it.
Yeah. So that's
Curiosity.
a good.
He'll just throw in there, I have a thought on that, and then keep talking, like, wait, what was your thought?
I like this part on page 53 where it says, when a person moves into a position of authority, he or she gives up the right to abuse people. And I have seen in a couple different places where I've worked that people do abuse people, and it's not really right. And I feel like I'm old enough and sassy enough now that I would call them on it, but I wasn't then. Sometimes it was at me, sometimes it was at other people, and I'm kind of like an underdog sticker up person, and it really tears me up when I see other people tearing someone else apart. There's no reason for that ever. So I really thought that was you give up the right to abuse people. And I feel like there are a lot of bosses that do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
You
a shame.
Abuse people?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I think the reason there are leaders is like they're supposed to be protectors.
Yes.
They're protecting their clan, their
Yes.
group, whatever it is, dogs, horses, people, like this
Yes.
is what we do.
Yes.
We look to a leader to protect.
Yes.
And you don't usually mind if your leader makes a bigger salary than you because they have all the stress of dealing with taking care of everybody.
And
know?
it is awful.
Yeah, right?
Sometimes. It's
Yeah,
like, wow.
so
So
this might be a good case study. We can go over it or skip over it rather if you don't want to.
it's okay.
But since we've all kind of identified with that statement of, hey, seeing other people abuse people is wrong, what do you do in that scenario? Like kind of a little thought experiment for everyone.
What do you mean?
Well, like let's say at your telemarketing company, you see a higher up do abusive behavior to an equal at your level on the pyramid. How do you handle that? Do you go over to the person who's the abusee, the abused, or do you go to the abuser? How do you handle that? And kind of applying wisdom because there might be relationship dynamics, but on a general scale.
I would go to the abuser
Okay. Why?
first. Because they're the one that's actually committing the crime. And I think I would try to be gently firm
Okay.
and not like devalue them, but
you
just
might not
say
have meant it this way, but
yes, it came across so really awful, as I'm watching it. And if I see that you're treating people that way much more, I'm going to tell somebody that's in a further up position than you, because it's not right. And we don't deserve that, and you don't deserve it. You don't deserve to be able to do it. So that's what I would do. And you realize when you're doing those kind of things that you also
risking
threaten your
yourself,
job,
yeah.
but that's okay.
That's a good tactic.
You're spending your life doing something, and working
Yeah.
for that person might not be a good idea.
Has anybody heard the phrase "hurting people hurt people"?
Hurt people hurt people.
Yeah, hurt people.
Yeah.
It's like correction.
But it's that
Yeah.
way that you would approach it, because that person might have a totally screwed up life, and they might be
Right.
getting abused, and so it just comes out as a
Like, what's
on
wrong?
someone
Something
else.
else is bothering you.
That's what I noticed with working for a boss. Well, especially now because I work for the government, and it's just my superiors have other superiors that are on their back. So when those superiors are on their back, they're on our back, and sometimes it's unreasonable as heck. And then you realize why they're doing it, but it's still dude, that's ridiculous.
Yes.
But I feel like I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
All right,
I never hear you talk, so this is
I noticed
You got a blank statement. You're allowed to talk whenever you want.
okay. I noticed that when I was because I used to work at McDonald's when I got out of school, and I had this one boss, and she was just horrible, and even customers used to complain about her, and I was just I just started working somewhere. I needed to pay rent, but now, how you said, you're wiser. You're I would say something.
Yes.
I would definitely say something now, because there's a bunch more McDonald's, and there's a heck of a lot more jobs somewhere.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I could have just been yo, you know what? It's kind of disrespectful how you're talking to people.
Yes.
There's a way you can do it where you can take them to the side and kind of talk to them.
Right.
But I think people need to kind of take action with that a little more.
I think so too. I think calling people out for their misbehavior in a work environment is totally okay, as long as you're not doing it in a disrespectful manner. I would expect my employees to be able to come to me with something that they thought that I was doing wrong, that was hurting them, because I'm going to lose them as an employee, and especially if they're doing good work.
Yeah, I would want somebody to try to correct me if I was out of line and I didn't even know I was out of line. I would want somebody to be you know what, John, you need to get your life.
That's where the difference comes in, where you realize you put your foot in your mouth, and others doing it intentionally. Like with the military, that approach won't work. No. Because when you're a non-commissioned officer, which is up to rank 7, which is a sergeant, you don't get that opportunity. they will literally drag you down in the mud. They think they're doing it to correct you and make you stronger, you know. And so there's some instances that won't work, but I mean, it just depends on the situation. And sometimes if the underdog that you're wanting to help may not want you to help because they're afraid that you have made
like Moses. Was it Moses, right? He killed the guy to help he killed the Egyptian to help the situation, and that did not go well.
that's the flip side to it.
There
I
you
mean, you know, it's if you're the underdog will say don't, you just may make matters worse. Or like me, I'll just step in and say, you know, that really wasn't cool what you did.
Right.
The term unintended consequences, you have to weigh it really. When you're a leader or an owner or in charge of something, your reaction can trigger unintended consequences that you never even thought of.
Mm-hmm.
I had to terminate a person one time, and it cost me $40,000.
Oh wow. Unintended.
Okay, because I didn't do it right.
And well, the thing is, it's not that you shouldn't terminate. It's not that you shouldn't be able to terminate people, but you know, when you name call and you humiliate people, and especially in front of others, that is just like not acceptable. And or get them in the office and you know you can see through the little hole in the window that their arms are going like this, and that is not acceptable either. It is not.
As a leader, you have to learn to protect yourself as well as those around
Yes,
you.
you do.
And what I learned from that is that I always brought a third party into something, and I never did anything off the top of my head.
We've had some scenarios, like you were saying, on the workroom floor, and there's maybe 80 people.
Are you doing the post office thing too? Okay.
But when that would happen, and I agree, when I was a new person there, you know, I don't know that I would have done that. But you know, as you're in your position and you're working with people and they respect you, even your bosses will respect you.
Your center of influence has grown.
Right, so when you know, I would approach someone, especially a middle manager, and point that out, you know, that it wasn't correct, and you've got all these people looking at you, and it didn't make you look good either. I mean, there you are berating this person in front of everybody, which is really bad.
Yes.
But, you know, they're looking at you as well, saying, you know, what are you about? So, I think, you know, you kind of have to weigh that out. If you're only been there for a week or something, you may not want to take that chance. I don't think I would.
Maybe
you know?
you could even like, I don't know, because I haven't been in that scenario, but sometimes kind of like, hey, like, is this like normal? Because like sometimes you kind of judge somebody like, but maybe they're actually improving. Like, you don't know how bad they were. Maybe they're actually doing like a whole lot better.
So two fundamental things that can kind of span all these different scenarios is that people always want to be the tallest tree in the forest, and they do it either by outgrowing all the other trees or cutting all the other trees down. So whenever they're cutting down other trees and you see that, they're just trying to be the tallest tree. So affirming and adding value to them by remembering their name and saying hi and how's your kids and wife and stuff is good, because they're human too. They still need that. And then also from the simple side of not being a threat. Because when people are angry, anything can be viewed as a threat. So being saying, hey, I could be wrong, and I often am, is a great way to start to diffuse the conversation you're about to have with somebody. Right? I could be wrong, and I often am, but is there something that I missed that, you know, that like if that person just, that you're firing, just, I don't know, did something outlandish and stole $100,000 from the company, then you probably treated them right, you know?
Well, and that depends on what they signed on the company for. I mean, if you have it all in black and white when they sign on, I mean, it's like you're done, you know.
So scenarially,
Yes.
diffusing the situation before you approach somebody
And a lot of times, if
is helpful.
in the past, if we've had employees that have not been, they've just been off a little bit, and it's so frustrating because I don't want to see that. I want them to do well. I want them, you know.
Right.
But I mean, when they start throwing fits or throwing tools or doing things that are dangerous, you know, sometimes I will say, okay, that's enough now. You have to go home. because we can't have people getting hurt in the shop. And then we will address this tomorrow, and pick it up tomorrow when I'm cooled down,
Yeah.
you know, but I mean, and then I start getting mad underneath all of it, also thinking, I am not a freaking babysitter, you know? Sorry, but I, you know, I just want you to be an adult and just do your job and let me help you and however I can help you, but you know, I don't want that part of Cindy to come out because it would be awful.
Like toothpaste, you
Yes,
can't put it back
it
in.
would be, yeah.
Everybody's like,
Ugh.
okay, I think I
Yes.
won't throw tools.
Yeah, you don't see the veins on my neck popping out because it starts to get really ugly. And that's not good.
That's probably why John Pence wears turtlenecks.
Oh, that's so funny. Let's see where we're at. Okay. Does anyone have any personal stories on adding or subtracting or both that like personally affected you in a big way?
Say it again, Cindy, please.
So do you have any personal stories of your own where somebody personally added or subtracted or both, either one? You can do it 2 or 1, I don't care. But a story where you can think of in your life where somebody added value to your life. And it doesn't even have to be in a work situation. It could be some other situation.
Oh, okay, thanks.
So with my business, like I do like network marketing.
Mm-hmm.
We have like a lot of company events, and when I like first started, I went to a company event, and like the speaker like added value to me, like kind of like made me think more. And then I actually introduced my little cousin to the company. You know, he's on my team, and he goes to the events too. And like I've seen like a whole total change in like the way this kid thinks and all that. So like getting that personal development from speakers and from, you know, from other places. I saw that like add value to him, and you know, he like thanked me one time, like thanks for like letting me know about this, because I'd be a totally different person without it.
Yes,
You know? So
yes.
just like that was like really humbling.
Oh, that's
For sure.
nice. Yeah. Nice that somebody showed gratitude. Good. Anybody else?
I got one.
Yes.
Actually, it was Marissa.
Oh no.
I like how she can get out and do the drama and her animals and everything. And it was the first year for Road to Resurrection, or the second year that I was here, and they were looking for somebody to help you. And you called me and let me be a part of it.
Yeah, I do remember that. That was a blessing because I really needed you.
Didn't you and one other person, wasn't that, I think I remember that actually. Wasn't you and one other person
Tori.
near the end?
Oh,
Wasn't
yeah.
it near the end of, yeah.
And it was actually really cool because like I really needed somebody and I was like, oh my gosh, I thought that they were gonna supply me with other people, didn't know I need to be a recruiter. So it was like a little bit like thrown off by that, and I was like, well, this is really last minute. Like, God, I really need somebody. Sitting there in like a parking lot at like a fast food restaurant after my reptile show, and I was like, and let's try Donna. And she was like, I really wanted to do this. I was wondering how I could get involved in it. I remember calling my parents like, gotta praise. Just wanted to let you know, like, this is amazing. And
nice.
I needed somebody, she wanted somebody, and God worked it out.
Yep.
So, it was
So
really
that
cool.
was a good one.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gary.
I'm in a stage in my life where I want to pick out champions. Well, that sounds harsh, but I want to come alongside of people that I may be able to help,
Elevate.
influence, give ideas, give
Add
thoughts.
value to them.
You know, I don't need to grow up the ladder of success. I'm retired. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what's fun for me is I get calls from people all over the United States that have worked with me somewhere in my life, or I worked with them, and we're friends. There's an article on the news today that said the average person has not made one friend in 5 years.
Seriously?
Now, there's a difference between associate
relationship,
relationship and a friend.
Yeah.
Dang.
Okay.
I know most men don't get 3 good friends throughout their life, so
Yeah.
that stat numerically
That's-
would make sense.
Yeah.
But
Disturbing.
that was all over the news today, this article, you
I
know,
don't quite understand.
and that's shocking, you know?
Well, I heard a really good thing about friendship. I know this is going down the rabbit hole a little bit, but I thought it was a really good illustration. Friends can be 3 things. They can if you think about a tree, they can either be a leaf, which is, comes and goes and falls off the tree. They can be a branch, but sometimes, and they're a really good strong friend, but sometimes the weight of life breaks them apart from the tree. Or they can be a root that is like life-giving, and and they're always there, always part of your friend, and I thought that was a really, really good. And none of them are bad. I mean, there's not
Tree
bad
is
to be
all
a
of us.
leaf, right?
Right.
Hey,
It's
every
like
one of
seeing
us needs a champion in our life.
That's when you say, leave me alone.
You know,
Yeah.
somebody to look up to, and some people are your champions, they don't even know what you think of them. So, there's been lots of champions in my life that I've just championed what they do, and I said, that's what I wanna be, or that's how I would handle that, or that's the way I would look at this,
Yes.
okay?
And it's here on page 52, it says, the best place for a leader is not always at the top position. It isn't the most prominent or powerful place. It is the place where he or she can serve the best and add the most value to other people. That is your best leadership
I've
place.
seen so many people elevated to a senior leadership just because they were good at one skill set.
Yeah.
And that new skills, the skillship of leadership they didn't have, but they were really good at this.
I can think of, I'll try to say it real quick, 2 quick examples.
Okay.
Both to do with the animal show, but my mentor, Dr. Carmichael, I met him when I was 13. He let me clean his animal cages like I was his daughter, and I did not know what I was doing, but that was really cool.
Oh,
So it
yeah.
definitely lifted me up,
Yeah.
and that's why I can do what I do. See a lot of 13-year-old in, which
That
is really
explains
cool.
a lot.
It does. It really does explain a lot. And then when my mentor was leaving, God provided not a mentor, more of a coworker that's above
Yes.
my expertise at the time. Outback Ray. You guys might have seen his show. He's got the big yellow SpongeBob snake. He's been around for about 30 years. And he was doing a show, and my brother saw him, and my brother's like, Marissa, you should come down here. You'll like this guy. So I went down there, and immediately I saw him, and I was like, I can connect with this guy. He loves reptiles. I could tell. He's not just about the mammals and the birds. I can tell he has those, but he likes reptiles. And so afterwards, I went up and talked with him, and there was a lady who came up to him and said, hey, I want a birthday party show. And so he gave her his card, and he's busy a lot. And he was like, hey, Marissa, he just met me. He goes, give her your card, too. She does shows, too. And he
Oh,
immediately
nice.
promoted me before
Okay, there you
even
go.
just knowing my name.
Yeah.
But he thought I seemed like a good person. But that was really cool.
Yes.
And so yeah, he always talked really good about me, and so he lifted me up.
Now,
like you were saying.
how long ago was that?
8 years ago.
8? Oh, wow. That is a little while ago.
And he's promoted me
Yeah.
all the time, and he says besides him, mine's the name that he hears going around. So that's really cool. Yeah.
I got one more question,
Yes.
and maybe you guys can answer it better. It's on page 50. It starts at 57, and he talks about the leadership relationship development tool, about shining shoes and stuff.
That was so confusing.
Speaking of that,
Oh.
we have an activity.
But I was going to ask you, but I understood it, but I didn't. So if there can be a little bit more explanation on that.
She put you up to that.
No, she didn't.
It does?
Yes.
Oh. Married people issues.
Okay, so let's see here. You get one. You get one. You guys got to share
Is this
one.
horsehair?
It's yeah. I bought these so we could have our class. Did I not get enough? Oh no.
We can share.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
guys share
Mary-
one and
Mary-
then Donna gets one.
Mary can share it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, are there other leadership tools that work better than what he used? I don't know. It's just something I found interesting,
Oh.
but
Well, you're about to share, so
Yeah,
I'll answer
and I
afterwards.
just wanted to say too, just being in process where you're like actually learning and thinking and growing and trying to consume and, you know, become what you're, you know, reading and learning. I can be very, I mean, not all the time, but sometimes if I've had a hard day and things aren't going the way I actually planned them, and then I get somebody on the phone and they're just like screwing up my whole world, you know, I can be kind of rough to them. And I just, you know, I think because of this book and just doing, you know, with the addition, for instance, somebody called me, my dentist, and I go to 3 appointments, so I needed this last appointment, which I made a year ago. She's like, we have to cancel your appointment. We might not have any until some, and you know, immediately I could tell because I was in the middle of a lot of other stressful things right then at that minute, and I'm like, you know, well, I just want you to know, that was my first, I just want you to know that I am a little upset that I made the appointment a year ago and you're waiting until 2 days before my appointment to cancel it for the rest of the year when I really needed to come. So, well, anyway,
Okay, just letting you know.
Yeah. So she was like, then she's like explaining it, and I said, okay, well, let's do this. Because she was trying to find an appointment, and she really just couldn't find an appointment. And I said, well, let's just do this. Because I was already thinking in terms of this adding or subtracting, because there is a place in Cindy that could go, you guys, you know, even though, but it just stopping and thinking that, you know, let's add to her, because she's already probably, what she said after I said this, she goes, well, I said, well, let's just make the appointment in January right now. If you get an opening, call me and maybe I can swing it, you know. So she thought that was fabulous, but I mean, it relieved her of some stress, so it added to her instead of subtracting to her, because I really could have, that was crummy. That was a crummy thing to do, you know, to one of your patients. But so because of, you know, God's spirit in me, but being reminded that we need to add or subtract with everything that we say, everything that comes out of our mouth towards other people can be an addition or a subtraction. So, but what I thought we would do is we're going to do this, what he said to do. So pick a partner.
So
You ready? So we're going to do read the instructions.
Oh no, I keep attacking
You're fine.
you.
You're fine.
Read the instructions, guys.
What else, Jimmy?
It's page,
58.
yes.
I'm looking at 57.
Well, it started at the bottom.
Oh, I'm gonna add something to you now.
Because this is really a thought-provoking exercise when you do this.
I read it. It said it was a 19-inch.
Yeah, well, I looked at the
Oh, look at
19-inch
that
brushes and I
brush.
couldn't afford them, so I'm sorry, you had
That's
to
okay.
have the little
No, but it
small
just says
one.
9-inch, which is only like that big. So
Okay.
it's just.
I still couldn't afford them. They're expensive. They're like $13 for a shoe shining brush.
That's crazy.
I'm like, well, I can't do that for my little class demonstration. So we're gonna do it. So you can pick out who's gonna start and read the instructions and then do it. I think this is a really good way to kind of visualize what it is that we're after and the heart that we're supposed to have towards other people.
This part of the book confused me so much. Andrew looked over and was like, what's with your face? Because I was like, wasn't I?
We were just talking about
I
ChickfilA. Now we're
was just
playing
talking about
shoes.
chicken, and I'm so confused where the shoes came from.
I equated this with the woman in the Bible who used her hair and
The oil.
back. Was it tears or the oil? Something there was
Tears
one
with her hair, and then
Oh,
she
yeah, with
anointed
that.
him
That
With
was
the oil.
with well, what type of
Oil
oil?
in
It was
here.
very expensive oil.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
myrrh,
Was
wasn't
it
it?
myrrh?
It was
Could have been
fr-
myrrh.
It began with an L, I thought.
Nard, something nard.
Nard, yeah.
nard, yes.
Blank nard. Something nard.
I
Yeah,
equated
that's-
it to Jesus washing his
Spike
disciples.
nard.
That was the second one, but I first thought of the woman washing Jesus' feet with
Yeah.
this.
Okay, so go ahead and read it, and
Well, if I did you, you had no
Yeah.
shoes on.
you
So
you
I-
can't
I-
do me.
Sandals.
You didn't plan that very well.
I polish.
Sorry.
Can I polish your nails?
No, here, you guys.
Paragraph 2.
Well, okay. So Gary, I'm sorry. You can't polish my nails.
But you can do his feet.
I can see me get together.
Yeah, okay.
I don't really know how to do this though, but I can give it a go.
Okay.
Great.
Awesome.
I I think it just says like
Kneel down
Brush
at your
it.
feet and
Yeah.
begin cleaning
it
shoes.
doesn't really give good instructions, so we'll see how we can do this.
Yours look like brand new.
I'm back in the military, remember?
What
Now
do you
it
do,
says
Billy?
right here,
Police officer.
Don't
It
say
says-
anything.
Really?
Thank you.
when you're done, you give them a big hug.
That has
Yeah,
a certain
so-
word.
So
that goes
what's
with it,
up
right?
with no
It's like-
hug, man?
I did
Oh,
love
just
you.
kidding. Okay, there you go.
Thanks for all the
And
beautiful
he-
things you've
Yeah.
done in church.
Thank you, you too.
I got a friend who does that, but now he's doing something
They
else.
watch
right,
for
so
me
that's
at
all.
church.
Oh, I see.
Now he's a
now.
bodyguard.
Like for,
Oh, yeah.
we do the,
So-
This works pretty
How does
good.
military
for
police stuff work
communion,
out?
like,
How'd that work out for you?
I loved it.
Did you?
I didn't think about that when I left,
So,
about having
I
shoes
left
on or
because
not.
I was pregnant with my child and my ex talked me into leaving. I should have stayed, but
The,
that's too bad.
I landed in
Did you have to like
the
rush?
restaurant of the client, and I had to be in 28 restaurants, and I met all the regional managers,
Yes.
and what godly people, and when you
Okay.
sit there,
Another hard
and I enrolled all their employees.
No,
Is that
that-
as far as with the
And you
military
saw
police,
the
like,
interaction of
do
their
they,
employees.
like, what do you
Just doing
enforce and how
normal
do you go about doing
tasks.
that?
all the normal rules that
And
civilians
then
have,
how
but
they
just on a
interacted
base.
with their
Okay, and then you
No
try to-
drinking and
their
driving, no
customers.
speeding,
Totally different.
Yeah.
violence,
Anything I had
you know,
Yeah.
that
ever
type of
Did
stuff.
you find a lot
And I
of
did,
infringement?
I also had clients. I had,
Yes and no.
And then they try to settle it at the base as opposed to turning them into the
Hamburger
typical
people,
police, is that right?
Well, police don't necessarily have jurisdiction on a base,
Okay, okay.
so
So then that gets settled pretty
And
much in-house?
those-
Yep.
the-
And you
I
either
had
go
a
to the
hamburger
brig or
chain that
you're not guilty or
the
whatever.
people just showed up. They
Yes.
didn't care
Wow,
anything
he's
about
doing
it.
Yes.
a heck of a
Yes.
You
job.
know,
Yeah, yeah.
I know, Marissa's doing a great job on mine.
They're nice
My
people.
goodness.
Larry has a pair of new
I
shoes
guess
on.
so.
They're only a
Such
day old.
distinct.
Mine have little
Yes.
pleats in them, and
She's
she's
got-
pulling the pleats.
Yeah, she's got an interesting scenario here. Look at that tip going there.
Okay, I get to do you.
Okay.
Can I tell you a cute story
All right,
having to do
let's
with
do this.
this?
She's got different textured shoes here.
Yeah.
So then we're gonna talk about it after everyone's done.
It doesn't even look dirty.
While they're finishing up, can I tell you this story?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I don't know.
My brother really is a born manager. He's
Mhm.
72 now and he's
All done.
retired, but
Oh, nice.
he's fabulous with this stuff. He's a very people
I was like,
oriented
"Who's coming
person,
in?" Oh, it's
always
Larry.
helping people out, that kind of thing. Well, he still
Oh, Larry,
drives
did you buy those shoes like
cars
an hour
for
ago?
dealerships now, so
Day
he
before
travels
yesterday.
within a
Really, they
you know,
were new.
8-hour,
They're
4-hour
new.
period from his house. But he said, you know, you go into these places in the morning to get a cup of coffee as he's driving. He stops off early.
Thanks,
And you know how when you walk into a
Donna?
convenience store or something, they
Sorry.
say good morning,
Linda
or
just
they
came
say
out randomly.
hello, or
Yes,
you know how they
yes,
do
yes.
that now.
You love
And he
her.
says, and I went in one,
All right,
and he
thank
said
you.
just the other morning, and I thought, everybody either doesn't answer the poor girl, or you just kind of go, you know, like that, you know? So he said,
Oh, I got a bro hug.
he said, I just kind of stood up, and he's like 6'2" anyway, and he just kind of stood strong, and he goes, hey,
It's growing.
good morning. You know, he says, good morning to you. You know, he's talking,
Uh-huh.
and he says, how many people were greeted by her today? And the people are in the store, and they're kind of looking. It's like 6 in the morning, you know, they're kind of looking. And he
I feel like
says,
instead
well,
of
let's
doing
answer
little
her.
shoes, I
She
should get
said,
people
good
massage.
morning, let's say good
Oh, there
morning.
you go.
So he had everybody saying, oh, good morning. And he says, first thing you know, I mean, she's smiling and laughing, and everybody in there is like smiling and having a good time simply because,
Ooh.
you know, he
Yeah.
brought it to everybody's attention. I thought, you know, how many people would do that? I know, I'm too shy, I'm not gonna do that. But if you were in that situation and someone did do that,
But by the end of
You
our
know?
year, you might not be so
maybe
shy
not,
and
because I am
you know what I
doing other
mean?
things.
Yeah.
But I thought about
Thank
the
you.
clerk, the store clerk.
Anytime,
She's
actually.
kind of
Give me a
mandated
massage,
to
I'm your
say
girl.
that, but now she really was empowered, you know,
Yes.
to say
Yes.
that to people when they came in
And she didn't feel funny about
for
it.
the rest of the
Yeah.
day.
Who
Yeah.
told you that story,
So
Mike?
Dick did it.
Oh, your brother.
Okay, so how did you guys feel about that? How did you feel as you were the brusher? When you were the brusher, how did you feel about that? About brushing someone else's feet?
Excited.
Everybody was okay with that?
I didn't mind doing it. I thought, oh, I'm gonna get it clean, you know.
But
do
you
a good
guys should have
job.
not, you guys should have not
It's
done it
different
together.
when it
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
well, that's true.
Maybe, or it could be
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah.
Maybe.
How about if it was somebody you didn't know?
I would still do it. I would
Yeah,
be excited.
I'd be okay with that.
I,
Cool with it.
yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
How about if, when you were the brushee, the
Yeah.
one that was getting your feet brushed? How did you feel about that?
Felt good.
That's great.
This also reminded me of your wedding at the reception.
Yeah.
I had never seen that done before, and that was just an interesting experience. When they did the reception, he knelt down at her feet and washed her feet. I was like, what went through your mind when he did that? At that point, when he went and washed your feet for you?
It was really nice.
It's just, but it's
That's
a different.
not a very good answer, but
Yeah, but I mean, you know, if you're not
like it's tender. It's a caring thing to do, nurturing.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
nurturing kind of thing.
that's it.
Like I care enough to like help you be awesome, a better person.
Not humiliating, but it's humbling.
It is
It's not
humbling.
humiliating, but it's humbling.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so knowing
It
that
almost makes you
place
feel embarrassed.
kind of
Kind of.
disarms the scene. Like I didn't feel threatened that he was gonna kick me in the face because it was right there.
Yeah.
Like, "Wah!"
Yes.
You know, I mean, you could have done that, but I mean,
You know, even not that that's a little different, but even before you guys got married, when you did the song, you know, playing guitar and singing, I
Beautiful
just
guitar.
thought that was so awesome. Just because it like you brought everybody together to pay more attention to what was going on. You made it personal. I mean, here's this guy getting married. He's up there singing and playing. It's like there'd be a lot of guys. I don't have time for this, man. You know, and I just thought it was one of the cool things. And I have heard a lot of people afterwards commenting about it in the same way, how neat that was. But anyway, I just think it brought people closer together even before the ceremony ever started.
Yeah, because you have to like center himself on God in order to like do it, as opposed to just being like, ah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But that was awesome. Did you learn that in leadership class? That was a good thing. I was really impressed. I really was. But anyway.
What other type of leadership tools are there if this is not the right scenario for you? What are the other tools that can be used?
oh, anything can be a leadership tool.
Okay, but
you're
remember you're talking.
saying like the brush effect, but something else that seems
Yeah,
more
what-
practical in normal scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, what would you?
Coffee.
I mean, a blank
Gum.
piece of paper, gum,
Oh, the tea for
the tea.
Kelly.
for Kelly.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. You want to tell the story?
Sure. Like, I might have told you guys this, but like when I was getting to know him, I met a lot of his friends in Texas. So when he would leave, I'd be like, so tell me about this guy. And she was like, this lady's name is Kelly, and she's a very well off lady. She's very respectable and everything. And she was like, well, my first impression was when I first met Andrew, we was in a big room setting or whatever, and she looked like she might have been a little cold in the corner, or she was by a door, and Andrew got her a cup of tea, and like, now she loves Andrew, you know? And it was like just a really simple act. It's like the foot thing,
Right.
but like noticing somebody's pain, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what's going wrong, and if they share like about their kid that's having a hard time, or their husband or wife, and like following up with them,
Yes.
and like asking how that is and praying for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of like that.
Yeah, I think presence is so key to be like fully present. Quite often we're divided,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, especially the parents that I know that are like raising kids and taking care of their parents at the same time, they're not fully present or engaged, especially with a stranger of some kind. They're like, I don't have time for this. I've got
Right.
more important things, which by default means that that's not important,
Yes.
or that person perceives that as that's not important. But that might not be the case.
Or maybe they just don't have the mental. Wait till you're in that spot.
Yeah, no, I'm
I mean,
not judging
it's no, I know, but it's really hard, and maybe they just don't have the mental capacity to, because they've got so many things on their plate and on their mind.
Right.
They, you know, they
Difficult.
just don't have the mental capacity to
Mm-hmm.
think it through and what they're actually doing. And
Yeah.
under a normal circumstance,
Mm-hmm.
either kids or parents, they wouldn't behave that way.
But maybe in shutting down a conversation, they're actually preserving themselves for their kids or their spouse or whatever, and that might be the better thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, saying yes is saying no, or saying no is saying yes maybe, or, you know,
Yes.
whatever, so, yeah.
It's sometimes I think too, people don't realize that maybe what they actually really need is a new, fresh set of eyes and a new perspective and a new person speaking something into their world instead of all the needs that everybody takes. You know what I mean? So I mean, I
Like, you
think
need to find someone else.
yes.
I try to hook my lonely friends up together. I'm like, that person's really needy, so is that person. Let's see if they can find each other.
Well, I work with this woman, her name is Judy, and she's a few years older than me, but she's always negative. You just can't, none of us at work are getting through to her. She just, everything on her plate, they call her Negative Nelly at work. So I crocheted her a little piggy. I thought if I can do something nice, it might start breaking the routine of all her negativity. And it's not working. So I'm trying to figure out how to use these.
You're really close.
Huh?
Does she like pigs?
Yeah, she says when she gets retired, she wants a little cabin and she wants 2 horses, 2 dogs, 2 piggies and a goat, and
But she
2
does
chickens.
like pigs, yeah.
So I'm trying to reach her and break her out of this negative space that she's in, because I mean it surrounds her literally 24/7.
Can I see into that a little bit? I think what she really wants is rest. And so if you give her a painting that's beautiful that can allow her to daydream about that place, she might never actually get it. But if you can give some sort of a nice painting or drawing, be like, hey, this is thoughtful, so she can hang that in her cubicle, so whenever she looks at it, she finds peace and rest in some sort of a serene place. That's what she's asking for. She's giving you the technical material, but inside of that, she's tired and she wants to rest.
Very cool.
That's an idea. But I know we're shorter on time, so
Oh,
how are we doing?
we're doing okay. We got about 10 more minutes. The other thing
You
that
drink
I
the water?
had, I'm almost done.
Okay, good.
So, you guys can pass these around too. This is just another thing. You guys can try to read this at home. I was just looking for some other things in that are ideas for addition.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, and then I
Maxwell.
also got this, and I was so excited about this. But let me tell you, because you can hit so many weird buttons and go through so many tunnels on the internet. You know.
it's crazy. My mom
Well,
always said,
anyways.
how do you find all these things?
Well, anyways, I found this and I was so excited. My 30-day journey to intentional living with John Maxwell. Well, it's not functioning. So I signed up for it and everything, but it's not functioning. So
Well, I'll
But I'm
text
so
John and
excited.
tell him to get it up and running.
because it's older. It's from
And then
his
you can tell
book,
John Maxwell.
Intentional Living.
Hey, I don't know who you're
But anyways, I did end up buying some books. My goodness, he has a lot of books.
Oh yeah, it's like 80.
Well, he
That's
said
so many.
he said in that one video he's got always writing 3 books. One he's thinking about, one he's ending, and one he's working on in the middle of it. That's amazing.
He's an author. I mean,
Yes.
he's fully an author.
Yes, and that's what he said he does. He gets up at 5:30 every morning, and that's what he does.
Might work with Judy.
So,
He might go to bed at 5:30 as well. The day before.
anybody have anything else? Comments?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Okay, here's Gary's.
I have something for everybody.
Oh, another
He went
handout.
back up, yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
I found this chapter very difficult. I liked it, but I think it's a little bit outdated. And the reason it's being, I feel it's outdated, is just look around our room. We have different age brackets of people that are in here. And what I say to you may not reflect the same way to you or you or you. And in the workforce that we're in today, we form groups, we form projects, we hire people. In the church is made up of volunteers, especially a church like us. You can't fire a volunteer. Okay, when you have a business and something goes awry or this or that, so in a church, and it's very frustrating for our leaders, our elders and our pastors, and that is because we don't have enough paid staff. Now I'm talking from my perspective. We don't have enough paid professionals. We have to rely on volunteers. We have volunteers of all ages. And the way I talk to you at your age, or your age, or your age, you may not comprehend the same message. So a good leader, I think, has to understand how to communicate at all ages of the project, company, or whatever. At some ages, you would never communicate via text message or email. Okay? At some ages, that's the only way to communicate, unless you're called for a special meeting of some sort. So the delivery of the message has to be tailored to the census of who is next on the leadership rung in a committee or a board or a business or whatever. And so I felt everything in this chapter was really good, except we have to learn to communicate by the mix of people that we're dealing with. Is that too heavy?
No, I think it's valuable.
Makes sense.
I think it's valuable.
Okay, now, I have had a habit of studying generational stuff. And then we got the silent generation, the baby boomer.
You just made it into the baby boomer, didn't you?
Yeah, Generation
Yeah,
X,
slide right in there.
Millennial, and Z. Well, you know, last Saturday I had a 2.5 hour meeting with the Z. Okay?
I just decided you're not the silent generation.
But as what I'm trying to say, as we come in walks with these different people, it's good to start to understand how we need to communicate with what age group, like your parents, you know. So maybe I'm talking off them.
No, it's definitely a true thing.
So are you saying, based on the chapter, that like wiping people, or not wiping, but like brushing people's shoes is applicable for people in different generations, but may not be the applicable, like you're talking about tools? Because I felt the law of addition was to add value, not how to add value. But I feel like how to add value, this is everything. You can't know how to add value without knowing what generation somebody's in.
Well, adding value based on how the generations think is what I was trying to get to.
Right, okay.
Okay.
I agree.
That was my concept. That and it's really a tough. Like when you go to a conference meeting, I'm just say there's 100 people there. There's all ages, right?
At the one that we went to recently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were the youngest ones there. Nobody was younger than us, but
Yeah.
all the way up to
Wait.
70, 80.
It's tough for the speaker to meet all your needs.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's meeting your needs, he's probably not being thought very much of it someplace else in the group.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe not as strong. So
This is so key. Like what you're talking about is so important, but not just generationally. Also, I'm not going to label it educational, but I guess self-development levels, right? You have some people you can talk to that have read all of Jim Rohn's material and Zig Ziglar's, and you can talk about the stairway to success, the elevator's broken, but then somebody who's never read a self-development book is like, what are stairs to success? You know, like knowing who's the audience is everything in
my wife calls me a nerd and all kinds of different stuff, but I actually have a copy of this in my wallet.
Oh.
And when I go somewhere and it's going to be a group, I pull this out and try to get a mental idea.
Now you have to take a picture of it and put it in your phone so you
I
can put
do.
it in a file
Yeah.
and not in your wallet so you can be really cool and go,
No, I'm trying.
You have
I'm
to
trying-
move up to generation, what is it?
I'm trying to be techie and I have it on my phone.
Like, can you just text it to us? Okay.
But then wouldn't
Kill
a
it
good
free.
speaker at a conference like that well, John Maxwell, for example, would he not know this and say, okay, I'm going to be speaking, just say he knows his demographics. He knows he's going to have that age, and that age. Wouldn't he be prepared in some form or fashion to say, this is how I'm going to explain it to this group. For this group who is like me, I'm tactile. I have to see it and I have to see you do it. Then wouldn't he have something for the other group who only grasps it by reading? Wouldn't the good leader actually already know what Gary is saying and be prepared for that?
Absolutely. And the best speakers touch everyone of every personality in every generation whenever they're talking. But I mean, like, it just depends on the speaker themselves. I mean, Tim Tebow might have more of a following of females than males. Like, it's just kind of a
Well,
general
yeah.
consensus of who it is. But inside of every generation, there's still the Myers-Briggs of all 16 personalities are in every generation. All 16 personalities of people. The Myers-Briggs divides people into 16 categories.
Whatever
Okay.
personality test you're a fan of.
Yeah, the
Oh,
disc
okay.
test or any of them, they're all throughout all of them. So making sure that you're saying something for the dominant people and for the compatible people. What's the C one, Gary? all the other ones.
DISC.
Right, DISC.
Dominant influencer and compassionate and I forget the S.
The S one, right? He's not an S, don't worry about it. So tailoring your speech that way absolutely is very important. That's what I like about masterminds is people get to ask a question if they're like, I don't understand this point the way that you said it. That way the teacher can learn what it is that you're saying and then repackage it in a way that you understand it. Not everyone has that gift of teaching. I mean, going to scriptural stuff. Not everybody has that gift to take somebody's question and then teach them what it is that they're trying to learn. But some of us have those gifts. Some of us aren't very good encouragers. So Marissa and I got married. So.
And I think blending in. Wait, what?
I mean, you're an amazing encourager,
Oh,
and I learned a lot from you.
Thanks,
That's what I
Trey.
meant.
But I think if you're like giving an example, if you're gonna be like in front of somebody and giving an example, trying to like use illustrations that would work. Like if you're gonna cite like a music artist, you might want to grab a couple different generations or genres. Just in case they don't know what that would be.
Yeah.
And that's what they did in the Bible with the parables. They're like, hey, like the seed, like the sower. Okay, all right, that worked for those people. Okay, so like a military term. So this is, and that's what is in the New Testament. It's lots of examples from all types of walks of life.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, Jesus knew who he was talking to. And then knowing who you actually want to hear your message. Sometimes if you're talking to a group of people, you might not care about talking to a particular demographic, whatever that demographic is as a speaker. You might only want to talk to the women in that organization. And that's what your conversation's about. So you use feminine and female things.
The other thing that I really thought about as I was working through this is how important it is to use the law of addition in your family, in your relationship with your husband, in your relationship with your children,
I don't have any kids right now.
Oh! I'm sorry, I don't get it. I get it.
So, but just, and it doesn't have to be big things, it can be small things, because I think, it's very easy just to ignore the people in your family or take them for granted or not make them feel special, or that you care even about what's happening. It's just easy to get busy and just focus on your thing and then just ignore what might be going on in their world.
Yeah.
So it's just, I think it's as I was working through this, I thought, well, the place you need to start is, always in your own family. And
Yeah,
figure
well,
that
first in
out.
yourself, then in your own family.
Yes.
But yeah.
And I don't know who says it, but like, if it doesn't work at home, don't export it,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like, in a marriage especially, like if you were practicing the law of addition, you would probably have a pretty good marriage, because it would automatically spur the other person on to, for instance, Walt loves cars. He loves those cars.
Yeah.
And for me to add to him, all I have to do is go down in the garage and grab a polishing rag and start buffing on
Like,
something.
I know what to do.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's the most amazing life.
but I mean, that's what he loves,
Get him some
and you
new
know, and
shoes.
just so to be part of that with him, you know. But I mean, that's
Don't
just
clean
a
his
real
shoes,
simple,
clean his cars.
yeah, just a real simple,
Yeah.
you know, way that I can add to his, you know, and I need to like keep in mind like my parents and you know my kids and just those kind of things. So
And exactly what you're saying in the action step part of it was like think about people who are around you and what kind of things in your family. I think is even more important than like all the hundreds of
Yes.
people in your life.
yes,
But like the things that they're interested in and learning about them.
Mhm.
So like, you know, if you were not you and you were some girl who married well and didn't know anything about cars, that girl should probably study cars so she can understand them,
Mhm.
right? But
Yeah.
he was blessed with you. So.
well, I know it's funny because in the car thing, because you do have wives that don't go. They don't
Yeah.
go to those car
Yeah.
shows with their
they're
husbands.
missing that
They
part of
don't
his
go in the
life, yeah.
garage.
Uh-huh.
They don't go in the car. They don't go. Well, I personally feel that's an easy way to lose your husband, but
Mhm.
you know, but it's not that big of a deal,
Yeah.
you know, to do that kind of a thing.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Go fishing with the guy or whatever. Yeah.
To me, I'm looking at so far what I've read in the book, thinking outside the box again. I equate this with doing the things that are intangible. I mean, we have so much technical stuff. You know, 20 years ago, you couldn't sit and do this. You know, and now Andrew can do this, but it's still the intangible things that he's going to do in addition to that that's going to make this all click together. So it seems to me like it's coming back to all the intangible and the things that we did prior to all the technology that is going to make this work. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody or not, but
Makes perfect sense. In our mastermind this last week, and we had a guy ranting.
Yeah.
About-
Ranting about it.
Yeah, well, it's just the way he gives speeches.
Yeah, it is.
He was ranting about writing cards and sending those to your customers, doing customer appreciation, adding value to your customers. When was the last time you sent? He would just ask people like, when was the last time you sent a card to one of your customers, a handwritten card? And not many people raised their hands. You know, it was a group of 25 elite business owners and whatnot, and they were like, no, I haven't done that. You know, we have automated stuff or whatever. But it depends on what I'm picking up from everyone, like what you just said, is kind of the love languages type of thing.
Mhm.
Like it's almost like different categories of how people feel. If you're doing something specific for someone,
yes,
like for Walt, he might appreciate you taking your time, quality time, and then serving him by cleaning a car.
yes.
Right? That might be more valuable to him than a handwritten note. It says, Walt, I love you, you're amazing.
Oh no, he likes that too. But
Well, you
So-
know your man.
Yeah.
So like for like you said, doing the intangibles, it's not just recording something or providing the environment that might be something else. Okay, that could be meant more as value. I think listening, and it goes back to listening, is what does the other person find most? But do it unto others as you would have them do unto you, with the asterisk as if they were you.
yes, yes.
So knowing that, like, getting yourself, and one thing that I did learn this weekend was putting the other person in your shoes. Sometimes if you ask the question the right way, like you did almost with the gal on the phone about that, like, well, how would you expect me to feel if you were, you know, if you had
Right.
scheduled an appointment out a year and they told you to, like, you know, like
Mhm.
that's a way to phrase a question.
Yes.
Maybe not the most positive way, you could come up with something better, but putting them in your shoes to think like each other.
Right.
But really, leadership is putting yourself in their shoes. And like
Yes.
you did, like
Yes.
she's probably feeling frantic and all this
Yes,
other stuff.
because she had an employee that quit because they got a full-time job, and then she had something else happen that was disastrous. And I'm glad I'm glad I changed my direction. I'm just really glad because she told me that after I said, well, let's just make it. You know, that just made me feel better that I changed my direction. You know, because I could have been curt and she would have carried that around with her the rest of the day. And I know how that is to be on the other end of the phone and have that, you know, awfulness.
Yeah.
I mean, in not, you know,
There's 5 words that you can use in any situation to change the direction of it. Cindy, may I ask you a question? May I ask you a question? And if you say yes, then I can ask you anything about anything or share anything with you. May I ask you a question?
That's what he does. Do you guys know the platinum rule as opposed to the golden rule?
No.
I mean, I'm not saying it trumps God's rule, but I think it's the same thing, just worded a little bit differently, which is I just want to actually quote it as opposed to do unto others as they would want done to them, which is kind of like the golden rule, but it's
Yes.
like a better way of like viewing it, like how did they want to be treated? Because I want to be treated,
Differently
I want to
than
be
they
treated
do.
the way I want
Yes.
you to treat me, and
Yes.
so
So, all right, is there further thoughts?
No,
Okay,
I
cool.
think I'm good.
Cool.
that
So,
was great, Cindy.
oh,
Thank
yes.
you.
Anything else?
so take your little brushes, you can hang them right somewhere where you remember every day.
That's so loving. Thank
Andrew,
you.
can you turn that off now?
I can't.
I mean, I don't care, I'm just saying, you wanna keep it rolling?
So,
Oh yeah, good point. We'll cut it off. But Mark needs to hear this last point, so I'm not done yet for everyone.
4,
So
5.
I want to
Yes.
stimulate just a couple ideas.
Yes.
That this month is Pastor Appreciation Month,
Mhm.
and today they had something in the LIC forum. I heard about it last minute when I was driving over here.
I think it's like
It's
kind of get the
Sunday.
kids to hang out. It's popcorn with the
Oh.
pastor, but I think it was primarily for Awana and youth group, although anybody could go.
Because
Yeah,
Sunday, they're having a little.
Right, they're doing it.
Lunch
Yeah.
thing.
Right. But what if us
It was
as
5.
those in the leadership
5.
course, I was thinking a handwritten note about something with him being our leader as the primary, I'm thinking like chairman, but that's not the position. Elder, senior pastor, that's the word, senior pastor. If we could put something together, I can do some sort of a scrapbook of some kind, not like we need photos and stuff, but take the time and bring next week a letter saying what it is you appreciate about Dave's leadership. So therefore we can add value to him as being a senior pastor, having to deal with all people and their attitudes and however they feel that Sunday morning or Wednesday night or in all the days in between. Like, I think that would be a good idea. Do you all agree that would be a good thing to do for
Yes.
Dave?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, next when is this gonna be?
This
Sunday
coming-
coming up?
I think
it's a
Pastor
Sunday.
Appreciation Month. I think it's a whole
It's
month.
the whole month.
Oh,
But I
okay.
feel like they're gonna have a fun.
They are.
This
But I'm saying
coming
for the
Sunday.
leadership
Yes.
course,
Yeah.
We could be
for
late.
us,
Yeah.
well, no.
It's
we're
not
going-
late. 'Cause it's a whole month.
It's any time in October. So
Yeah.
I don't want it to be done this Sunday.
Okay.
I want it to be done by next Wednesday.
Sure.
Okay.
So by you teaching, which by the way, everyone, Larry is doing the law of solid ground
Trust.
next week. In case I didn't tell you, you're on. You're next
Oh,
week,
yeah,
man. It's
yeah.
you.
Sure,
So
man.
solid ground.
Oh,
Trust
boy.
is the foundation of leadership.
Wish I were here.
Oh,
you watch
you're
the
not
recording.
gonna be here?
Man.
The other thing that I was thinking when I was doing this is I don't know if we wanna do that at all, or if it's like off the beaten path in my thinking patterns, but, is maybe, as a group, do something for someone in the church, some kind of a service thing at some point in time.
I'm open to discussing that, but that's very broad.
Okay, well, I
Can you
mean,
be more
it
specific?
could be going to a shut-in house and helping them do something,
Oh,
or
okay.
going to the hospital and visiting something
Mhm.
Yeah.
where we're actually adding
Adding
something.
value to something.
And we are serving, because all of us, except for this one, goes to the same church. You can come on Sunday.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you for
Invited.
Thank you for the invite. I'll come one Sunday.
Okay, well, we're gonna hold you to that, you
I
know.
don't know if it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be this Sunday, but
Okay.
one Sunday I will.
Okay.